Donald Trump is a monster. I don't think he could be doing any better of a job at making America hate him right now than he's already doing. Genuinely, he should be winning contests for this. It's actually kind of impressive. You see, America is going to starve. Millions of Americans are going to starve because they are not getting their SNAP funded. Granted, there may be some partial payouts remaining for November, so do not fret too hard. If you have SNAP, check your app, make sure you're, see if you are going to get your payment. You still might get a partial one. I haven't kept up with it, and, what the SNAP benefits have been, updated with. Last I heard, they were trying to get the funding through. I have a friend who uses SNAP and was telling me about it, but I haven't spoken to them in, a week, so I don't know if they are still getting benefits for November, or if it's just going to be partial or what. However, meanwhile, Donald Trump is given the option: concede to Democrats, stop being a fascist, or even don't concede to Democrats and stop being a fascist, but at least approve emergency funding for SNAP so that even during this government shutdown, Americans will be able to eat. It is in Donald Trump's court. He can just approve SNAP funding if he wants, and he refuses. He just won't do it. He just refuses to do it. It makes him look so bad that even though the Democrats are technically responsible for the shutdown, though not necessarily when you think about it, then it leaves the Republicans in a situation where the ball's in their court, and they're not doing anything with the ball, leaving Americans to just kind of hate Republicans more than they hate Democrats, even though the Republicans are desperate to call it the Democrat shutdown. That's not what's sticking for people. The fact that Republicans could stop the shutdown any minute and still refuse to do so. Hell, they could even emergency fund important programs despite the shutdown and refuse to do so. That makes them look way worse than the shutdown makes the Democrats look bad. Hell, the Democrats' reputation is already at rock bottom. How could it go any lower? Just bringing down the Republicans is all that matters at this point. And so, with that in mind, in the spirit of bringing down Republicans, if you end up liking this video, consider leaving a like and comment down below. Hype the video as well, it really does help. Subscribe if you want to see more. Helps to boost the channel and the algorithm and compete against right-wing nonsense. That said, Donald Trump is throwing a Versailles-style Mar-a-Lago gala right now. And I mean right now, today, as we speak, while millions of Americans are actively starving. You can't make this up. This is like French pre-revolution monarchy shit. Let them eat cake. Oh wow, wrong screen. There we go. Let's get right into it without any further ado. This is enraging.
This hour with a split screen. On one side, President Trump's version of reality, and on the other, the American people's. This week, Trump tried to downplay voters' concerns about affordability, a top issue that helped propel Democrats to big election wins on Tuesday. Instead, he's been focused on creating a new Gilded Age by handing out tax breaks to the ultra-wealthy and turning the White House into his own personal palace.
This is not what Americans voted for. They did not vote for Trump to be blatantly just favorable to wealthy interests. They should have known this is exactly what would happen, but it's not what they voted for. They bought Trump's bullshit hook, line, and sinker. They thought he was going to be the money president. He was going to make everyone win so hard that we would be tired of winning. I believe that's what he said. I think that's how he worded it. You can't overpromise that hard and underdeliver this hard without an outcome that more or less just means everybody hates you now.
And according to the Daily Beast, Friday night, he threw...
Yeah, they bought it twice. They fell for it again.
...another extravagant party at Mar-a-Lago for his celebrity friends and loyal supporters, featuring opera performances, ice sculptures, and a lavish dinner, all while taking steps to cut benefits for the most vulnerable.
Jesus.
That same night, the Supreme Court temporarily allowed the Trump administration to withhold SNAP food aid from 42 million people. And all of this is happening against the backdrop of the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, 40 days today. Speaker Mike Johnson has kept the House in recess since September 19th. That's 51 days and counting. This week, Democratic Congresswoman Chrissy Houlihan confronted him at a press conference, urging him to work toward a bipartisan solution.
have an obligation
You have an
to
obligation.
call the leadership of both parties and bring us together and solve this problem together.
Okay, let's talk about it. I've been doing that. We did that before the shutdown began. We went to the White House. We went and sat in front of the Resolute desk, the clean nonpartisan CR that every Democrat, including you, voted no on September 19th. You voted to shut down the government. You voted to stop SNAP benefits. You voted to not pay the troops, not pay TSA, Border Patrol. You may regret it now, but
Joining us now is Congresswoman.
The Republicans really have been trying to do the Democrats are behind the shutdown, the Democrats are behind the shutdown thing. But what doesn't work about that is a government shutdown on its own, should not be catastrophic or even harmful to the average American. Because the Republicans have the option, as the majority party, to approve emergency funding for all the programs that Americans want back. As much as the Republicans can say it's the Democrat shutdown, it's also the Republican shutdown because they're the ones refusing to fund the things that Americans want brought back during the shutdown. Or want the shutdown ended so they have back. It is all in the Republicans' court now. They can say it's the Democrat shutdown as much as they want. They have the power to end it, and they refuse to. And that's what Americans see right now.
And Chrissy Houlihan of Pennsylvania, and Eugene Robinson, Pulitzer Prize-winning contributing writer at The Atlantic and an MSNBC political analyst. Congresswoman Houlihan, let me start with you. You found it imperative to go confront the speaker and ask him, why doesn't he get into a room and negotiate? When do you think this shutdown will end? Because as we've been saying all morning to sort of remind people, this shutdown has been going on for 40 days now, and you guys haven't been in session for 51 days.
Good morning. And at this point, I really can't predict when this will end because my frustration boiled over, and I know that of the American people has long ago boiled over when I realized that Speaker Johnson hasn't actually even tried to speak to the leadership of the Democratic Party in more than 50.
Remember, Speaker Mike Johnson is also the one blocking the final certification of a Democrat who's already run election from entering office, where she has already pledged her vote to release the Epstein files. Now, to be fair, I don't think we're going to need her vote anymore. Several Republicans were recently shown by the DOJ, or told by the DOJ, that Trump's implicated by a lot in the Epstein files, more than previously thought. It's apparently so bad, there might actually be photos of Donald Trump doing pedophilia in the Epstein files. It is that bad. With Epstein. Like Trump and Epstein actively doing the essay of children on photo in the Epstein files, and the DOJ has it. And now Republicans know that exists. So now a lot of Republicans are starting to quietly and quickly start backing away from Trump. It's not getting as much media coverage as you would expect. It's happening somewhat quietly, but a lot more Republicans have pledged to vote yes to release the Epstein files because they want to get out ahead of this. They do not want to have been someone who voted no to conceal what is about to come out. It is going to be really bad for Trump. Like photo evidence released by the DOJ reluctantly bad for Trump. It's gonna be bad for him. I don't think, if this doesn't end him, literally nothing will. If this does not end his political career, literally nothing can. If this does not destroy Trump, nothing can. This is the ultimate nuke.
Days. And I think that that's an indicator of the fact that he's decided to just basically abdicate the entire authority of the Congress itself. And so until such time as he's willing to have those conversations bipartisanly and also bicamerally, I don't know when we'll find the government open again.
Eugene, when we look at this split screen of Donald Trump having his Marie Antoinette moment at Mar-a-Lago and Americans completely scrambled and stressed out about whether or not they're going to be able to put food on the table next week, having their EBTs not refilled by the federal government as expected because of this government shutdown. I'm wondering if you can take a step back for us and talk about at least what one of my biggest takeaways from this week is, which is that class is increasingly cutting across traditional party lines, and that this is less about left and right and super partisan, entrenched, polarized political views, but that what you saw in a lot of these swing districts was people swinging back from Trump to Democrats because of the affordability issue. And who you think is the party of the working class at this point?
Well, that's very much up for grabs right now.
The Democrats, easily.
Class has been an issue throughout the Trump era, really. I mean, Donald Trump, remember, the Republican Party.
All right. We don't need to hear their debate. what I want to get into is an update on the situation. While Trump is partying in Mar-a-Lago, meanwhile, the Trump administration says that states must immediately undo any step to send full SNAP benefits to their people. This just came out today. I'm not joking. Donald Trump has ordered any state that is trying to help their citizens get their SNAP benefits, he is demanding they stop any effort to do so. He demands it. The Trump administration has instructed states that they must immediately undo any steps that were taken to provide full SNAP benefits to low-income Americans, saying those states were unauthorized. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, in a late-night Saturday memo obtained by CBS News, also threatened to impose financial penalties on states that did not comply with the government's new orders. To the extent states sent full SNAP payment files for November 2025, this was unauthorized, Patrick Penn, Deputy Undersecretary of Agriculture, wrote to state SNAP directors. Accordingly, states must immediately undo any steps taken to issue full SNAP benefits for November 2025. The orders are human suffering. You must make humans suffer. Listen, this is going to be so popular for Trump, man. People are going to love this, I'm sure. The Trump administration initially said last month that it would not fund Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program benefits for November because of the ongoing government shutdown. The twists and turns since have exacerbated uncertainty for the nearly 1 in 8 Americans who receive monthly SNAP benefits to spend at grocery stores and farmers markets. On Friday, some states began issuing full monthly SNAP benefits to people a day after a federal judge ordered the Trump administration to provide the funds. Massachusetts, New York, Connecticut, and New Jersey were among the states that said on Friday they were moving to issue full benefits to SNAP recipients. But Friday night, Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson temporarily paused that judicial order to give an appeals court in Boston time to decide whether to issue a more lasting halt. Jackson acted because she handles emergency matters from Massachusetts. CBS News has reached out to the White House and the Department of Agriculture for additional comments on the new guidance. Maryland Governor Wes Moore said there is no clarity from the government on funding SNAP benefits over the last several days. Quote, "There is a chaos that is an intentional chaos that we are seeing from this administration and where they have money for everything. Moore said. Quote, "Face the nation with Margaret Brennan." Unquote. Quote, "They got money to fight wars, they got money for ballrooms, they got money for everything, but when it comes to supporting the people, that's now when they are crying, well, we are broke, and that's not what the law requires us to do." Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, a Republican, on Sunday, called the directive shocking, as it applies to states like hers that used their own money to prop up the program. It's one thing if the federal government is going to continue its level of appeal through the courts to say, no, this can't be done. Murkowski said, but when you are telling the states that have said this is a significant enough issue in our state that we're going to find resources, backfill, or front-load, whatever term you want, to help our people, those states should not be penalized for it. Democratic Governor Maura Healey of Massachusetts said SNAP benefits were processed and placed on EBT cards before the U.S. Supreme Court order Friday night, in line with the previous guidance from USDA. She said that if Trump attempts to claw back the money, quote, "we will see him in court." Dude, it is wild how terribly Republicans handle any kind of crisis. It almost feels like anytime Republicans are in power, Democrats should just purposefully start, hard situations for Republicans to have to handle, that if they were in any way competent, they could handle it without an issue and nothing would go wrong. But because the Republicans are so incompetent, they mishandle it, and it ends up being a massively unpopular, huge fuck-up that only a party made up of complete morons could make. I feel like this is the new meta. This is the strategy that works, bro. Nearly 42 million Americans receive SNAP benefits, formerly known as food stamps, for help buying groceries. Most have incomes below the poverty line, which is about $32,000 for a family of 4. An individual can receive a monthly maximum food benefit of nearly $300, and a family of 4 up to nearly $1,000, although many receive less than that under a formula that takes into consideration their income. The delay in payments has led to a surge in demand at food banks and pantries across the country, as well as long lines for free meals or drive-through giveaways. Some states have provided emergency funding to food banks to help them respond to the increased need. Some states also use their own dollars to fund their direct payments to people while the federal benefits were in limbo. The New York Times first responded to the USDA's memo. So, it would seem that we are not going to see any at all. Like, there's not going to be any SNAP benefits coming through at all. What did Trump say on his plane the other day about this? Is this from today? I think this is him on his private jet, Air Force One, today.
We go now to the Republican governor of West Virginia, Patrick Morrisey, who joins us from Charleston. Good morning to you, sir.
Hey, good morning, Margaret. Good to be with you.
So your state has one of the highest poverty rates in the country. Nearly 16% of residents rely on food stamps, that SNAP program we've been talking about. In fact, the very first food stamp pilot program began in West.
Wait, correct me if I'm wrong. Is this am I mixed up?
Patrick Morrisey, who joins us
Governor
from
Morrisey,
Charleston.
Charleston.
Good morning.
Okay, Charleston. Okay. So all right.
Morning to you, sir.
Not Alaska. My bad.
Hey, good morning, Margaret. Good to be with you.
So your state has one of the highest poverty rates in the country.
This is very much a Republican.
16% of residents rely on food stamps.
Very much a
SNAP
Republican
program we've been talking about. In fact, the very first food stamp pilot program began in West Virginia back in the 1960s. Given the current shutdown and how rural your state is, I wonder, are you able to get help to those who need it right now?
Absolutely. Look, great question. I do want to start out. First of all, thank you for having me on the program. One piece of information coming out of West Virginia, we've had a mining accident and we have teams down looking for a missing miner. I just want to say that our hearts and prayers go out to the family of that miner. We're doing everything we can to locate.
How did I know coal mining would get brought up somehow? West Virginia, coal mining, got to come up in the same sentence. It's impossible not to. Anyway, I do want to point out that this guy kind of reminds me of that one, what is it, President Jimble in Smiling Friends. He just kind of has that kind of energy to him, if you know what I mean. Anyway, though, this is a Republican who is recognizing that he is going to lose a significant amount of popularity among his own voters if he continues to make excuses for and back Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump is punishing every impoverished American across the country. And I don't think a lot of people realize that while the stereotypes the right likes to push is that it is non-white, like poor Americans, like immigrants and stuff, using up all of the food stamps, it's actually white, rural Americans who make up the vast majority of social spending consumption. So, in fact, it is a lot of West Virginians and other white, rural, right-wing Americans that are going to see their government benefits cut off. Those are the people that are about to be infuriated.
That person. Now, when it comes to the government shutdown, we're doing everything we can to help those in need. At the very beginning, I started standing up for the federal workers, and we announced that to address some of the concerns with food, we were going to send significant dollars to the food banks. By tomorrow, that'll be up to $13 million. I've activated the National Guard, and we're doing things to make sure that no one in West Virginia goes hungry. Our people are hurting right now, and I'm doing everything I can to solve the problems while Washington bickers. But I do want to be clear, this shutdown could come to an end right away. It's up to Chuck Schumer or just having 6 more Democrats step across the line. There's been a clean...
The Republicans, it's all in your court. It's all in your court. Y'all stop doing fascist shit. Y'all can, hell, y'all can even vote to emergency fund. You pressure Trump to emergency fund SNAP. It's all good. Your state doesn't have to put anything into that.
CR on the table, available for some time. People should take advantage of that, and let's get the government reopened, and then we can go about the business of fixing the many other problems facing our country.
I'm sorry to hear about the mining accident, but on the issue of food stamps, Governor Moore of Maryland said that he had been told the state would be punished essentially for fronting the money. Is that the message the federal government also gave to you? West Virginia won't get those dollars back?
No, well, first of all, I want to emphasize the Trump administration has been a great partner to work with throughout the past year in terms of the economic progress that we're making here in West Virginia. Sure. But also, we've reached out. I was the first person to reach out to the federal government. So we had our national parks reopen.
Yeah.
And now we're working by activating the Guard and putting resources at the food banks.
I was
We're
yapping
actually
right
making
now.
a difference to keep people from getting hungry. So we've been in very close contact with the Trump administration, and they've been very cooperative. Look, I think they know, and everyone's frustrated, that you're 6 votes short. These Democrats are saying no to reopening the government. It's a Schumer shutdown. I think President Trump is bending over backwards to be helpful, and I'm excited about the things he's doing in terms of how he's handling this and the broader economic issue.
She's like, I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm gonna let you finish. I hope she's got a good follow-up.
Use at large.
Well, there is the fight in the courts specifically about providing full food aid. The Trump administration initiated that.
That's true. The Trump administration can approve the emergency funding for SNAP even during the shutdown. Saying that SNAP can only come back with the shutdown is entirely the Republicans' decision. And that is why the shutdown is making the Republicans look bad. Because the Republicans could just fund SNAP anyway. And they're not doing it. They refuse.
Play something for you because 70% of West Virginians voted for President Trump in the last election. But here's how he described the food stamp program.
Largely, when you talk about SNAP, you're talking about largely Democrats. But I'm president. I want to help everybody. I want to help Democrats and Republicans. But when you're talking about SNAP...
Rural white Americans, so Republicans, consume the most social spending of our tax dollars and our social programs out of everybody. They are massive tax dollar consumers, and they basically pay out nothing because most rural white areas are extremely low income, and they basically have like nothing in terms of property value. Like they don't pay much at all in property taxes, and they just don't pay into the system much at all in income tax either. And so it's, ironically, the people who live in the big cities that are paying into the system, they're comparatively, because cities are smaller and denser, not consuming anywhere near as many tax dollars as they produce, because they're very productive economies in big cities. And meanwhile, we've got these extremely spread out rural areas that require immense amounts of dollars spent just to maintain roads, much less to keep the power lines up and to keep like the roads clear and to just keep up sidewalks and fund like health inspectors to go to every restaurant spread out through some like massive small town or across the countryside, or to send out like ambulances and stuff. There's like a million different federal services. Hell, just to keep the schools funded, which are locally funded. Meanwhile, like if a school has really shitty local funding because the property tax in the area is lower, there's not enough people there, then usually they receive federal benefits. Like the ways in which these rural communities consume U.S. tax dollars compared to the production made by the big U.S. cities is insane. Ironically, it's not the Democrats who are going to be starving. The Democrats are generally more economically productive. Most American Republicans are actually less economically productive and benefit the most from these social systems. It's his own voters he's making suffer here. That's what's so crazy about this. He doesn't realize it, though. I don't think he's smart enough to know that Republicans are the biggest welfare queens there are.
If you look, it's largely Democrats. They're hurting their own people.
Have you made the White House aware of the pain from the food program disruption specifically?
Yeah, so we've been working closely with the White House, and I think they know they've been very supportive of a lot of the efforts that we're taking to make sure that people don't get hungry. That's the ultimate goal. We have to make sure we're protecting our people. Margaret, you're right. We have 270,000 plus people on SNAP. But once again, there's one reason why they're not getting the resources. It's because people are insisting to add all these new pieces on top of just a bill to keep the government open. That's the concern we have. But we've been getting really good response from the...
All these extra pieces, you know, like funding food stamps so people don't starve, the thing that Trump is refusing to do and is making him look really bad with each passing day.
Trump administration across the board, whether we're talking about the food issues, whether we're talking about our energy jobs, or even just recently, the conversations we're having about President Trump's rural health transformation bill to put resources up front to save public expenditures at the back end. That's the kind of good working relationship we've had.
I want to ask you about that because I know West Virginia has one of the highest rates in the country for government insurance. There's concern about rural hospitals. There is this rural health transformation program Congress set up. Your state could get $100 million a year for 5 years, but your West Virginia Hospital Association says that your hospitals are going to lose more than $1 billion per year because of this latest big, beautiful bill Republicans passed. How do you make up that kind of shortfall?
Well, I think what President Trump and RFK and Dr. Oz are trying to do is common sense.
God, Dr. Oz.
If you subscribe to the adage, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, what they're trying to do is invest the single largest amount of money in improving rural health. And in West Virginia, that means everything, because we're a very rural state. So the resources...
You know what would have been crazy? You know what would have been crazy and really freaking cool, man? If Donald Trump did not destroy Joe Biden's bill, the largest infrastructure funding bill in U.S. history. Hell, if Trump just never touched anything to do with the American Rescue Plan. Who here knows what that was? Who here knows about the ARP, or American Rescue Plan? How many of you followed politics during Biden's presidency and know about the American Rescue Plan? Biden and Kamala passed a string of like the most progressive policies I have seen in my lifetime, and any progressive alive has seen in their lifetime. It was awesome. Like, it was legit as fuck. There was a whole webpage on the White House website for the American Rescue Plan, which is unfortunately now all dead. You can't go to that page anymore, but it was literally a big database. Like, it was very user-friendly. I have videos in the past of me using the website, but it literally had every single problem you could be facing as an American in terms of financial distress, and you could click on each section, and it would offer you a path to get government funds to pay for your problem, like to supplement your problem, like some kind of government benefits. Everything from you can't afford food, to you can't afford childcare, to you can't find a job, or you can't get on disability, or like you need help getting on disability or disabled. Everything was there, and it was all funded out the gills by Biden and Kamala. It was awesome. And Donald Trump got into office, and day one, he put that shit in the blender, and he chopped it into pieces. He destroyed it. Countless Americans would have benefited from the American Rescue Plan. It was an entire policy bundle, and it would have been game-changing. Hell, one of Biden's biggest policies that Trump destroyed, he had banned coal. By 2035, it would have been illegal for the coal industry to continue working in coal. Coal was going to be banned as a fossil fuel that is used in America by 2035. For reference, coal alone makes up 80% of the yearly carbon footprint of the United States, and only produces 20% of our power. Coal is a terrible energy source, and it should not have stuck around as long as it has. In fact, this guy, the West Virginia Republican governor, is a big part of why coal has stuck around for so long. Ridiculous it still exists? Well, Biden was going to get rid of it. Unfortunately, you better believe that was one of the first things that Trump struck down. So coal is not going anywhere, I'm afraid. Clean, beautiful coal.
And go to invest in our people, to invest in our hospitals, our providers, and the technology that actually can move the needle in terms of improving healthcare outcomes up front, attacking obesity and COPD and substance use disorder. So we're really excited about that, because if we apply the resources the right way, I don't think we're going to have the diminution of public expenditures at the back end. This is the common sense approach we're seeing from the Trump administration that we're not seeing from Schumer and the Democrats in Congress.
Governor, we have to leave it there. We are out of time. Thank you.
Damn.
On Friday, we spoke with...
That shit ended abruptly. Man, they were out of time. And so are we. If you enjoyed this segment, despite it being a little bit of a downer in terms of topics, because Donald Trump is, still starving Americans, and that's not exactly the best news that we could be getting right now, then please consider leaving a like and a comment on this video. It does help a lot. It helps to boost it in the algorithm so it can compete against all the right-wing slop out there. And of course, consider subscribing if you want to see more from me. Comment Elon sucks. Fuck it, just comment Elon sucks down below if you watched this far to let me know you saw all the way to the end. And of course, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Maybe hype the video too. And as always, I hope you have a good one, my friends.